What's up, guys? We are back with another Bandai Tamashii Nations review, but we're taking a look at something a little bit different today. Similar, but different. We're taking a look at one of the movie realization Star Wars figures. So this is something that I've really been interested in for a really long time, but I've never been able to actually go as far as to get any. It's always been figure arts or these, not both. And it's always got to be figure arts for me. But Bluefin sent this figure over for a review, so we're going to take a look at this guy, and I'm very, very excited to see what's going on in here. So we have got Kylo Ren here in a kind of premium format box. It's a matte finish slipcover style box. You've got a product shot of the figure on the front, and then you've got a close-up shot of the helmet on the side, and then the back of the box has got a series of product shots, kind of similar to what we're used to seeing with figure arts. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Samurai Kylo Ren figure. And in the sake of full disclosure, I was provided this figure by Bluefin for review, but this is something that I've really wanted to take a look at for a long time, ever since I think it was the Darth Maul that kind of clued me in on just how cool this line could be. And frankly, as far as sequel trilogy characters go, Kylo is definitely up there in terms of just the cool factor, especially when they do all of this to him. So there is a lot of cool stuff going on here. He is similar but different to a figure arts, for example. Obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know that I'm into figure arts in a very big way, and I'm very familiar with those. These are kind of similar, but they're bigger, and the joints aren't exactly the same. So speaking of joints, let's take a look first at articulation, see what he can do. There's not a whole lot of surprises here, but there are some things that kind of get in the way, just because this is a very kind of form over function type of a line. So speaking of form over function, talking about the design really is the forefront thing here, and it does kind of get in the way just a little bit. Not too much though. So the head is on a ball peg that goes up into the head, and then you've got a articulated neck as well. The neck is really what does a lot of the work up here, so you can swivel side to side. He goes down and he goes up a little bit. You do have to kind of watch hitting the shoulder pads and then the base of the helmet. The arms go out at the shoulder, and they go out pretty much all the way, but you do have to worry about this cape. There is swivel at the shoulder. There is a little bit of a butterfly joint. The armor does kind of stop it, but it does actually help more than you might think. We've got pretty big ball hinges for the elbow joint, so he gets a little bit better than 90 degrees, and you can swivel at the top and then at the bottom as well. You've also got swiveling hinging wrists, which is a little bit different from figure arts. They don't really go up too much because he has these gauntlets on him, but they do go down a good bit. He's got a waist twist, which is a ball peg, so you can twist him around, bobble side to side. He goes backwards a little bit. Again, it's more of that cape getting in the way, and then he goes forwards a good bit. The legs go out basically as far as the skirt piece will allow, although they could go out further. You just have to kind of watch all of the stuff that's going on down here. And then he can kick forward. There is, again, a bunch of stuff down here, so you have to work with it and get it to move, like this armor piece right here. Some of it just kind of gets in the way. It's layered over top of the figure. You've got a thigh cut up there, so you can twist there, and then you've got double jointed knees, but they are kind of hindered again by the skirt piece, and then you've got rotation, rocker, really good rocker actually, and then unencumbered hinges all the way down there at those ankles. So he is a little limited. There are just some things that get in the way based on the fact that he's got a cape, he's got the big skirt piece. It's very much, again, style over function in some ways, but he does move around really well. Everything that is functional as far as articulation goes is quite fluid. You just have to kind of work through all of the stuff that gets in the way. Now, all that said, let's be honest here, one of the biggest reasons for this figure, in a general sense, just for its creation, just for wanting to buy it and own it and play around with it, is undoubtedly the look and just the idea behind this. So, of course, we've got a samurai-inspired Kylo Ren. So it takes the idea of Kylo Ren and fuses him with some traditional samurai-style armor. So he definitely looks like Kylo Ren. Like, it's obvious from the get-go, based on this mask alone, really. Yeah, that's Kylo Ren. But it's mostly a samurai-inspired design. There's a lot here that plays into that, from his torso with the armor piece here, and then you've got like the wraps. These are really reminiscent of Kylo Ren, and then you've got these gauntlets here. You've got the ceremonial kind of skirt piece almost, which has a ton of sculpted detail in it and a humongous amount of like a tan, dirty wash in it almost. I'm not entirely sure if it's supposed to be dirt or more maybe just sort of a patina on it in some ways. You've got the kind of baggy pants that lead down to some great shin armor, and then you've got kind of the what you would expect to see on maybe a samurai foot. So it's definitely a very ancient, you know, samurai, traditional Japanese style design, but it really works on this figure. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I've never really, again, messed with these before, so I didn't know what to expect before getting it out of the box, but when you get this thing in hand, it's just really cool to look at. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of different textures. There's a lot of different styles going on. You've got like a very traditional looking insignia on his back, but that's the First Order logo. You've got the half cape, which I'm not so sure if I would prefer him to have a longer cloak like in the actual movie, because I know it would get in the way, but this really does look good, and it seems to be more in line with a traditional type of cape for him. You've got a non-removable, just sculpted on dagger. This seems to be kind of a thing with a lot of the figures, just something that kind of adds a little bit of heft and oomph to him to show something on his belt that you might expect to see on some samurai armor. And there's just a lot of different textures, a lot of sculpted detail. It's a lot of fine detail, like the wraps on the arms, the kind of grain that's on the I don't know what you would call this piece right here, the girdle almost, and then the almost male type of look that goes on with the skirt piece. All of this stuff is removable. You could pop him apart if you really wanted to. The cape can come off as well if you pop the head off. So these are all free-floating pieces. And one of the bigger things, literally, about this guy that kind of took me by surprise, again, once I kind of got him in person, is how big he is. This thing's about 7 inches tall, so it's a little larger than you might expect for a Bandai Tamashii Nations type of figure. It's certainly bigger than anything in the figure arts line, and again, that's kind of my comparison here, is when it comes to that stuff, I'm all about the figure arts. I don't do the model kits, so I don't have those to compare against, but this guy's definitely a lot larger than your average Star Wars figure arts, which gives it a little more shelf presence. And at the end of the day, I mean, it just looks cool, right? But that's not even taking into consideration the helmet, which honestly for me is my favorite part of this figure. It definitely gives off like kind of an evil Shogun warlord type of look. The front is undoubtedly very heavily Kylo Ren inspired, except for the mouthpiece where you've got the spikes and that black mouth guard, but the rest has a kind of patinaed wash in it to bring out that sculpt. It makes the metal, the silver aspects of it look almost a little dirty, but a little older. And then you've got all the spikes that kind of make the ring, the crown on the top of the head, and then you've got the plates that come down. I will say that I did run into one issue with this particular figure, but I did it myself. It's not like it was broken out of the box. These rings are actually glued on as they go up, and I popped one of them off. You can just pop it right back on with a little dab of glue like it came out of, but I was tilting the head way too far and it just sort of popped off. So that's not really a knock on the figure itself, just sort of maybe a be careful, buyer beware when you're messing around with them. But it looks amazing. The patina that they put on there is really nicely done. It's perfectly sized to this body, and the sculpt and the paintwork is just tremendous. Now, as far as accessories goes, Kylo has, I'd say he has everything he needs. It's just not a great deal of accessories. So essentially he has various hands, and then he has the one weapon. So he's not really missing anything. It's just not a great deal of stuff. So he's got the fists to start with out of the package. You can see I've swapped out a gripping hand here. He, of course, does have a second one. So you've got 2 fists, 2 gripping hands, and then you've also got a set of splayed finger open palm hands. You know, force push, force grab, that kind of stuff. But the real star of the show is undoubtedly the lightsaber or sword or whatever you want to call it. And I love this design. I think it looks great. My only real gripe is that I wish there was an unignited blade just to have that option, because this is an always-on lightsaber, but I really think it looks good. It definitely sells the idea of his crossguard saber, and it's got a pretty ornate hilt and handle on it, and I love the translucent orange-red blade, so it definitely works really well. It sells the idea of it being a traditional sword, while at the same time, of course, being translucent plastic, which I love, and then very much bringing home the idea of his particular lightsaber. So overall, I'm really happy with this figure. He does have a few hindrances when it comes to articulation, of course, like I mentioned. Some things just get in the way because of the layered armor look and the different things that sit over top of the body, from the cape to the skirt piece to the girdle piece. All that stuff just kind of gets in the way a bit. Otherwise, though, he does move pretty fluidly despite that. But truthfully, it's all about the look, and the look is sold really well here. It's quite obviously a Kylo Ren samurai mashup. You can see the Kylo Ren influences, you can see the samurai armor influences, and I think it works. It looks cool. It's a different kind of figure. It has a great shelf presence just because of how different it is. It stands out nicely, and he comes with, despite a few of them, he comes with some pretty solid accessories. That lightsaber in particular is really awesome. I dig the way they designed that and made it into a more standard type of sword, while very obviously still having a lightsaber touch to it. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan of this line after having a go at this particular figure. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations movie realization Kylo Ren. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.